All right, welcome back, everyone. This is the next episode of A Conversation with Kely. Of course, this is episode 8, and as always, I am joined by my lovely co-host, Allie. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic. I'm just chilling here with snacks.
And we do love some snacks.
I just love having you in my presence.
Me too. I always love being with you. But as always, we are here to talk about the next everything that went on this week in Big Brother Canada. It was a pretty unexpected week. The way things turned out, I don't think this was the outcome that people were expecting. But I like that. I like that it was unpredictable. I like that things went differently this week, but we are going to get into all that. But before we do, we have a wonderful guest, someone that this is someone that my very first lawn form org that I played, not minis, but orgs. This is someone that I met in that org. I immediately gravitated towards, and they have become a good friend of mine since then. Here they are. We have Lemon, Macchiato, Vu, or Jodely. How are you doing?
Hello. I am so excited. Now, listen, when I met Kevin, I didn't know he was a big YouTube international superstar. And so now, fast forward, and now I am on this side of the screen. Hi, Mom. I'm trying to think of the other things that people say, but I am so excited to be here. And oh my gosh, this week of Big Brother Canada had me, my heart was racing almost the entire time. It really was.
Yeah. I mean, before we get into that, what have you thought of this season so far? Like, what's your general opinions, aside from the tragic first boot, who's now you have the same last name as? What have you thought of this season?
Right? Oh, 100%. I mean, honestly, the first impressions of this season, I honestly thought it was going to be dull, just because with a smaller cast size and with a team twist and all that, I wasn't really sure what to make of it. But at this point, with so many amazing competitors, there's a path I could see for each person winning. And usually that number is narrowed down to like 2 or 3 people. So I am so excited. I'm really excited. I think it's a great season, minus, of course, the first week. Yes.
Definitely. It's really great to see a cast where still this far into the game, everyone legitimately has a case to win. And you can't normally say that on a regular season of Big Brother. So it's really great to see that here. And as Lemon did say, we have a lot to get into. So we're just going to get into it right now. The first thing we have to talk about is some very sad news. Arisa gives this tribute to the late Nikki Graham. Now, I will be honest, I'm not too familiar with Graham as a contestant because I have not watched Big Brother Canada outside of this season. But from what I've heard, this is someone that was a very bright spirit. She wanted people to be authentically themselves, and she was struggling with, I believe, anorexia for like a while and things like that. So it's really sad to see her go out this way. But I thought this was a really moving tribute, especially, like I said, as someone who didn't know too much about Graham herself. It summed up like who she was pretty well. Like I almost felt like I did see her just from the tribute alone. But what do you guys think of this?
I thought it was really emotional, and like I watched her Big Brother Canada season, and I just really enjoyed her. She was so nice, and she was just really fun. And hearing about her passing just made me like really sad. She was also so young too, so it just makes me like it just makes me heartbroken.
Nikki was definitely I knew of her before she came to Big Brother Canada because I know she was on Big Brother UK, and the first time I was introduced to her was one of her famous confessionals where she is sounding off how one of the contestants, who is she? And her spirit just lights up a room. So losing her was kind of a shock just because it didn't feel real just because, Nikki, everybody knows Nikki to some extent, but definitely it was really touching because they didn't necessarily have to put that in there. So it definitely hit my heartstrings a little bit. Nikki will certainly be missed.
Yeah, it was definitely very, very saddening for sure. And I felt like we would be remiss if we did not at least bring it up in this podcast, especially since I'm sure both of you have seen a lot more of Big Brother Canada than I have. So I felt like we kind of had to bring that up. But so very much just, regards to Nikki Graham and her family and everyone that's, suffering. Very unfortunate to hear about all of that. But on a lighter note, let's get into the things that did in fact happen this week. So right off the bat, we see everyone's rejoicing. They survived the double eviction. They've made the final 7. And we see that Kiefer is happy because to him, everything went according to plan. And he thinks him working with Jed and Ty works best for him since they can both win the Strength Cups. And Jodie, I'm going to ask you, because we talked about this in the double eviction last week. Do you feel that Kiefer taking out Ro was a good move for his game in hindsight of the way this week plays out?
In hindsight of the way that this week plays out, I think yes. I think if Kiefer had gone home next, that would have been the bonehead move of the season.
Yeah.
But the fact that Kiefer is not only now still in, and at the same time still is able to win competition, still has his connections with other people. Like, at the moment, I did not necessarily agree with the move, just because I thought, Rohan is such a big target, and once he leaves, I mean, this may be jumping ahead a little bit, but what Tera was saying to him during the HOH competition was true. He is a big target himself. He will become after eventually. But
yeah,
in full hindsight, maybe it turned out for the better. So green check mark.
Yeah, I think definitely, especially at this point, I'm kind of sitting there like, Kiefer, could you be any more naive right now? Like, this was a really dumb move. It put a huge target on your back. You got out the person that everyone else wanted out of the house that probably would have benefited you to keep around for at least a couple more rounds. So at this point, I really was not liking the way Kiefer went about this. But we see Breydon is really upset, which is understandable. He put in a lot of work to keep Ro in the house the previous week, and he feels now he needs to step up. He needs to win that HOH, and will he accomplish it? We'll talk about that. But Beth is very shocked that she, Jed, and Ty are still in the game, as I think we all are. I think for sure we thought last week one of them were for sure going to be out, and it's insane the way they've basically steamrolled up to this point. We see that before Vic went out, Breydon says that they should have turned on Rose since he's playing both sides of the house in that way. And Beth is very happy that Vic gave her this info, but is very happy she left because they would have been in a worse position if they stayed. So this is one of those things where, it very much seemed like Vic was trying to be loyal to them. I think for the first time she actually was going to stick close to them because she knew her middle game just wasn't going to work anymore with the way Tera was throwing her under the bus. But you can see that it makes Beth feel better than ever because nobody, people recognize how close these three are, but there's no one that actively wants to break them up. And the Sunsetters, they're just feeling amazing about their chances and they think they're set for the Final Four. And I mean, we've seen steamrolls like this before, but I don't think it's ever gone quite this well. What do you guys think of just the Sunsetters as an alliance? I mean, they're kind of killing it at the moment.
I mean, I've never disliked them. The only one I'm not really a fan of is Kiefer, but I definitely think steamrolls can be very boring, but I mean, they are definitely killing it. They are playing a really good game, especially Beth and Ty.
Yeah, I mean, I've brought this up. Oh, what were you going to say, Jolie?
Pretty much, I was just going to say that I agree. Like, even throughout the pre-jury phase, with Julie, Josh going, they were associated with everyone. With everyone. And then even with Kyle and Austin going in a row, I was like, okay, there's still a lot of chances for this trio to be taken down. But just in the course of 7 days, now that 3 is half the house, and it just it feels like a blindside, but like a good one. Like, how could this not have been seen coming?
Right, for sure. I mean, I remember when Latoya went out, we were kind of convinced maybe they're not going to be a thing anymore. Maybe the Sunsetters are going to go off on their own and make their own alliances. And they have done that, but they've continued to stay loyal to each other. And I'm honestly rooting for them. I think this is a really likable group of people. Kiefer, if he would still how he is as a person, but I will say he does put in some good work this week. I'll get into that, but I think overall, like, this is definitely one of the stronger and more likable steamrolls we've seen, and I really like the way it's playing out so far. So honestly, hats off to them. A lot of the time, I agree with Ali where I don't love steamrolls. I think it's boring to watch, but with the way it's played out this season, it's been done in such an interesting way. And there have been so many opportunities where it's like, oh, this is the point they're going to get sniped. This is the point they're going to get sniped. That it hasn't happened. Then I'm honestly really impressed they've been able to overcome the things that they have. So I think it's really great the way things are working out for them.
I think so too.
With that being said, there's still a lot that could happen. Everything changes on its own. Yeah. But this week especially, I thought that, because this is Jed's first HOH win, is that right?
Yeah.
It was.
I thought it would be 10 times smoother than it actually was.
Yeah, we will get into how crazy that week really was. But getting back into the notes, I think you're going to read the next few, Ali.
TNT talk about, although they survived the double, they very much feel like they are the next to go. Tina feels she needs to maintain the presence with the Sunsetters since they have control of the votes each week. She says she should be good until the final 5 because they care so much about loyalty, but with the numbers dwindling, it's hard to really tell.
Yeah, which I mean, that's pretty much what we expected at this point. I feel like they are the one duo where people have known that they're a thing, but they haven't taken the shot because really they're not a threat. But we're at a point in the game where if you have a duo, that's really powerful. And I think they're recognizing, I think they made a good move in recognizing like Tina and Tera are not really with us. They're actively out to get us. And so I think there are a lot of things about Tina's game that she really does not do a great job with this week, but knowing that she was a target, that's one of the good things she did do.
Yeah.
Anything. There's always a difference between reading a room when you are under pressure and reading a room when you're just okay. And I think Tina, for the most part, because she hadn't really faced the fire up until this point, has been pretty good at like recognizing what's going on. So I think that's definitely Tina's gold star ability for sure.
No, definitely. Yeah. I think what happened with Tina is that she was in a really strong position, but she decided to like abandon the Sunsetters, mainly because of the way that Latoya was handling things. She didn't like how Latoya and other people were, it felt like they were dictating to them what to do. But I feel like after Latoya should have left, she should have tried to like get back in with them, and she never really did that. And so while I definitely like the fact that she recognized that she's a target, I can't help but think she kind of did this to herself.
I think so too.
Yeah.
All right. The Sunsetters are shocked with how literally everyone, they didn't trust her out of the game, even if it wasn't by their own volition.
Exactly.
Kiefer brings up how him and Vic were very close in the game and that he knew she was the visible HOH almost immediately. This seemed to backfire on him real quick as Jed, Beth, and Ty now feel they can't trust him as much as they thought, especially since he isn't telling them this until now.
Yeah, this was a really weird move to me. I don't know why he decided to tell them when he did. Yeah, this is something that like they were going to take. They took the shot last week. You tell them then, because what this basically says to like Beth, Jed, and Ty is that, oh, you didn't tell us this because you wanted to hope that there was a chance that she would stay. He never expressed that to them. So like this is the first sort of seeds of doubt I feel like that they have that maybe Kiefer isn't with us in the way we think he is. So I don't think this was a good move for Kiefer at all. Like I said, there's some really good things he does this week. This is not one of them in any way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also tough when, especially in close quarters like this, when you feel like you found the people that like are telling each other everything. That sometimes you can throw something in like, oh, hey, your hair looks really great today. You smell amazing. By the way, this person, I want to keep this person that you don't want to keep in. And you think that everything is 100% solid, but you know what they say, the second you think everything is solid is the second it starts shaking. And I think Kiefer started shaking the table with that one.
Yeah, I think he very much did too. I think, honestly, we talked about this last week. I think he should have tried to do more to keep Victoria in. I think it would have helped his game more. Although, given the way this week plays out, I'm not entirely sure if he needed to do that. I do think he'd be in an even better position if he had worked to keep her around, because they were playing very similar games at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, who is the surviving nom when Victoria went home?
It was Tera.
Tera?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised Kiefer voted to evict Victoria.
Yeah, I mean, literally, Tera was like turning on him, like, you got to pick a side here, and it's like, isn't that the game you said you wanted to play? Like,
literally, Kiefer voting out Victoria was a terrible move for him.
Yeah, it was really dumb. I don't understand why he felt he needed to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Bray's talking to TNT, and Tera says she doesn't know at this point if they'll even be able to go for the trio and could go all the way to the end and never even get on the block or be a have-not. Tera feels this is their chance to finally make a move and win an HOH.
Yep.
The final 7 gets together and talks about how thankful they are to have made it there and how diverse of a group it is, which was really nice.
Yeah, there's some really good conversation this week about, like, diversity and casts and things like that. And it's really good to see. That's something that I think we recognized early on, is that this is a really good group of people. And one of the reasons for that is because it's a cast of very different backgrounds, whether it's gender, whether it's race, whether it's, all this different stuff. I think they've done a really good job with that this season.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
it's more interesting to watch too, because of them coming from such different backgrounds.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah. So Beth talks to Breydon and says that everyone's next big move is to take out the trio. Everyone wants to take Kiefer out, and if Breydon wins HOH, he needs to take him out, and that they need to treat him like how they wanted to do with Vic. They need to make it clear that, like, we're doing this. We're not wavering. Like, we want him out, and they want to make sure that Breydon is the one to do it for them. And ideally, I feel like this would have been the best circumstance, because if Breydon does the work for them, they're pretty much sitting pretty next week, because they're going to turn on, if it backfires, like, they'll turn on Breydon. They're not going to turn on them. So I think this was definitely the right approach for sure. And I think, there's some stuff with Beth and Breydon that goes down a little bit later in this episode that was a bit confusing to me, but this is exactly why that relationship is so important for Beth, because she needs to use Breydon as someone that can make certain moves for them when they don't want to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So what were you going to say?
I was going to say, if at any point Breydon wins a competition, that will be very, very exciting to see.
Yes.
And I feel like Breydon is such a wild card in the eyes of the other contestants.
Yeah.
That when Breydon does eventually win something, HOH or veto, who knows? It's going to be whoever's closest to Breydon. It'll be a good thing for them for doing that. Yeah,
Breydon's really gone from someone that I think we just kind of saw as, like, laying low to being one of the top contenders to win the game. And all he really needs to do is just win a comp. And I think he definitely gets closer and closer to that end game. So fingers crossed that he's able to do that soon, because he's come so close in a lot of comps up to this point. But at the HOH comp, the house guests have to go to the ball pit room. And for once, I can actually explain how this comp works. We see basically they have to search for a white ball, and for every ball they find, it's worth 1 point, but they can only bring one ball back at a time. However, there are also these X balls, and if they place the opponent's tube into it, it will lower their points. I liked this comp a lot. I thought that they really handled this very well. And it's very intense comp, both comp-wise, but also emotion-wise. A lot of stuff happens during this HOH comp for sure, because Beth is starting out very strong. So does Breydon. But before Tera gets out, she makes this huge scene, and she talks about how the trio is running the game, but the way she goes about it, I thought was really weird. She says specifically Jed is going to win the game. She makes it very clear. Jed's playing a phenomenal game. If they don't do something, Jed is going to win this entire game. Kiefer thinks that she's talking to him for some reason, and he says that he is the furthest thing from a coward, and Tera tells Tina that like they've never stood a chance this entire game. And what do you guys think of this move? Was this the right thing for Tera to do? I saw all these people on Twitter being like, let's stand Tera after this, and I don't really know if it was the right thing for her to do.
I don't think it really was the right move for her, because it made her even more of a target for everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, also shout out to my mom. She's sort of watching.
Yes, I did see that.
I think she's like going in and out and watching because she was.
Yeah, she liked the Facebook video.
Shout out her. Did Tera do the right thing by calling it out? I can see how with the HOH this frustration could have like come out, because whenever there's a competition where the other house guests can affect each other and it's not just plain skill, like if anyone ever touches my stack, I would be frustrated. And I'm sure it's not. I'm kind of sure that it's not entirely strategic and that she just wanted to get her feelings out. But just at that point, she should have known she was going on the block. But even if she thought she was going to flip someone, I think the chances of it was going to be low. And I don't think she successfully flipped anyone at that competition.
Yeah, definitely. I think if anything, she definitely made herself more of a target. And I especially thought it was weird that she was like, Jed is going to win this game. There's no way he's not winning. And I'm like, what evidence, like, specifically does Jed have over, like, Ty and Beth? I don't understand why you think he has more of a resume, because at least up to this point, not saying this week, but up to this point, I feel like Jed has been playing Beth and Ty's game. He's been doing what benefits them really over what benefits him. We kind of saw that last week with a lot of moves that he wanted to make and then ultimately didn't because it benefited Beth. And I think that's definitely hurting him for sure. This week he does definitely, I think, put in some work to show that's not the case. But yeah, in regards to saying Jed's going to win the game, very weird move. I didn't understand what she was really talking about there. But Breydon seems to be getting so close to winning. And I was like, finally, we're going to get that Breydon HOH. But no, Jed notices this. He kicks it up a notch. And I thought it was really good that he recognized that, like, yeah, Breydon's coming really close to winning. I need to do what I can to like get this HOH. And he does end up winning the comp. And not only that, Tera is in dead last. And she says they know they can't win as a team. She keeps saying this is not a team game. They call her out and saying that they haven't really talked at all, which is true. She has not really made an effort to work with them. And Tera says that Jed absolutely secured her vote at that point. Again, still going on and on about that. And Beth is really annoyed. She's clearly only talking about the physical aspect over everything else. And so, yeah, Jed ends up winning the HOH. And this was definitely the right move for Jed, I think, with the way things were playing out, especially with the way Tera was clocking him. Like, I think anyone probably would have taken a shot at Jed at that point. So I think this was definitely the right move for him for sure. But it also, I think, gave Jed a chance to really show his true potential within this game and finally play an individual game, which I don't think he's been doing a lot of this season.
I think so too.
And I know
Jed's been more playing for Beth and Ty.
Exactly, yeah.
A showmance over a bromance, a tale as old as time.
Pretty much.
Like, lately, he's been playing more for Beth, but he also has been playing for Ty too.
And he's very loyal. And definitely he's been wanting an HOH win for a while. So it definitely felt like the right time for him to take it. And I felt like I knew what Jed was going to do. Yeah. But even so, it was just nice to see him be able to say, I accomplished this thing I set out to do. So I felt happy for him. I did.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's you.
Yeah. Jed is ecstatic he was able to pull that off, and that the trio continues to steamroll. Beth mocks Tera for what she says, and Jed says that it is kind of a team game because they got to the end. Meanwhile, Tera has only worked with Tina the whole game.
Which is very much true. I mean, literally, Tera's had multiple opportunities to work with other people, and she has not taken them. The only person who's like actively trying to save was Kyle, and that failed. So it's kind of it.
Tera is still annoyed and tells Jed that he probably has her jury vote at the end because he's never gone up before. Jed feels this paints a huge target on his back by her saying this.
Yeah.
She says, yeah. She says she knows she doesn't have any say in this anyway. She says, though she wanted to work with him, she didn't feel she'd fit in.
Yeah, and this was again a really weird move to me. Like, why did she feel she wasn't gonna fit in with them? I don't really and I feel like there was definitely a scenario in which she could have. Like, if Tina doesn't leave that group, I think they're easily able to get Tera in there, and I think Tera definitely works closer with them once like the oddballs dissolve. So I think there was definitely a scenario where she could have worked with them. She just didn't do it.
Yeah, agreed.
A piece of me, I remember looking at the cast beforehand and watching all the cast reveals. And the one thing I said about Tera was like, oh, she's like the mom, where she brought oh, you guys noticed too. But she said she's a little older. She has children to look after. And a piece of me wondered if, like, subconsciously she saw, you know, the trio who are all younger and who all are doing well in the competitions and thought, there's no way they will want to gravitate towards me. But even if that was the case, that would be self-sabotage that she didn't still go up and try. And I feel like she definitely should have. It came to bite this week. It did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really did. I think she should have recognized early on that like she wasn't talking to certain people and she just didn't.
It didn't pan out.
Yeah.
All right. He said he would have been down to do it, but they needed to have more conversation within the game. Tera feels he's going to crush this week and everything he does.
Again, hyping him up for like no reason.
I know.
Maybe it would have been part of the strategy to be like, I feel like you're doing super, super well. I see you. I recognize you. I want to work with you. But it definitely... I'm sure it did not hit Jedson that way.
Yeah, it rubbed him the wrong way for sure.
Yeah. Beth goes to Jen and Ty and says that she is very annoyed by Tina, Tera, and also Bray. She feels Bray is someone that hasn't been on their side the whole game and has just been carried the whole game.
This was really fucking weird to me because, like, just last week, it seemed like Beth and Breydon were, like, super close. And it seemed like he was someone that she kind of needed in the game. So for her to just, like, talk shit about him, I did not understand this really at all. Because I feel like if I'm Beth, if I'm in her position, I probably want Bray to be, like, an alternate final two. Because Jed and Ty are going to take each other if they're at the end. If I win, like, the final four veto or something, like, I secure, and Breydon's there, I secure the fact that Breydon is there with us, and then all that needs to happen is Breydon or I win that final HOH, and then I'm in final two. So I don't understand why she was saying this.
I don't either. I mean, I feel like she does trust Breydon, but like maybe she just, I don't know, maybe she was just annoyed with him at the time. But
I guess I don't know.
He does see that, like, oh, if these are the two people you really feel great. I do see the merit in, like, going to them and being like, I love you and I hate everybody else. Like, I can see how that would show loyalty. But honestly, my educated guess is that at this point, Beth feels really, really good, as she feels like she doesn't have to hide anything anymore.
Yeah.
She feels untouchable. That's what I'm thinking, especially with the Jedson HOH. I feel like she must feel like caution to the wind and all that, you know?
I mean, especially the past few rounds, she kind of has been untouchable.
She hasn't gone up at this point, and she probably won't.
I don't think she's gone up, period. Yeah.
Yeah. Good for Beth. Good for her.
Yeah. Kiefer tells Tina there is no chance of saving Tera this week, and Tina says if she was closer with that 5, they would have put Bray up.
Yeah, I think they definitely would have done that for sure. But again, this is Tina's fault. This is entirely Tina's fault. Like, she should not have left that alliance week 3, but she chose to, and she did not ever, you know, give them the sense that, like, I want to come back. She worked closely with Kiefer, and now it's biting her in the ass. So again, this is entirely her fault.
She did not trust the Sunsetters.
Yeah, and she was in such a good position too. Like, she was with them, she was with the oddballs, and she just like fucked it up because she did. She chose to do nothing.
Yeah. Kiefer says there may be actually a slim chance she can stay, though, if Breydon goes up. Tina feels this may be a glimmer of hope.
Which I felt like there wasn't really much of a chance that she wasn't going to go up there with the way things were panning out.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
She goes to talk to Jed and offers the idea of targeting Breydon next to Tera. She feels he is a huge competitor and he can pull out a win very soon. He says he thinks it would be amazing if she could get to the final 5 with them.
And I think he did generally believe that. I think he wanted that there a scenario where that happened, but I think he also knew that, like, you know, at that point they were really good with Breydon and they definitely need to work with him a few more rounds because they've worked so closely with him these last few. I don't think Breydon was really an option here.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think Breydon is such a big enough wild card to everybody that I'm sure that to Tina and Tera it looked like a possibility just because Breydon, nobody knows where he is 100%. But I wouldn't be surprised. I wasn't going to be surprised if Breydon wasn't on the block come the end of the week, despite all that going on.
For sure.
Yeah, and Breydon's someone that's just, he's so good socially as well. He's able to, like, maneuver himself in such a way to where he really hasn't been a threat. I mean, he's been the only person that's been on the block, and both times it's been a unanimous vote. So, like, for him to stay. So that's really impressive, and that's definitely something he can use at the end.
Yeah.
So Jed decides to choose Tera as his Wendy's date for the week, and she tells him that she's very frustrated by how nobody else wants to win in HOH, which is not true at all. Breydon came so close to winning that, and Jed just decided that he was going to kick it up a notch and ended up winning over him. So I don't know why she said that. And she says if she were to win, she would have put up Jed and Ty, and pitches to Jed that Breydon is really their only roadblock at this point, and that they are pretty much unstoppable. And she says that Tina doesn't really have to win anything at this point because she's done absolutely nothing. And, you know, she's an easy beat at the end. A great way to throw your ally under the bus and say that she's done nothing. But it's weird that she has heard her name all the time and not Tina's. Again, Tera, it's because you're actually showing your cards. You're actually doing something. Tina hasn't done shit the entire game. And all you're doing is, like, all you're doing is making Tina not as big of a target. You are lessening the target on Tina and you are increasing the target on yourself. And I don't think she realized she was doing that, but that's very much what she was doing. I'm
not a Tera fan, but I mean, I like that she's at least trying. She's at least trying to play.
Yeah, I am in no way a Tera fan.
Oh no, me neither. Not at all.
But I do like the fact that she has tried to campaign. It just has never worked out because she's really not that good.
She's definitely over it at this point. Like, I think this week we see Tera just, she doesn't want to. She's seen her position. She feels it, and she doesn't want to take it anymore. And it was really interesting to see this side of her come out because I wouldn't have pegged her for an aggressive game player. Like, I mean, she literally fought with Victoria in the backyard, and I thought, oh, this won't change anything. But who knows? Maybe this side of her has been coming for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's again, it's just it's unfortunate to see the way things have gone. But basically, he goes to Breydon, lets him know exactly what Tera said, makes it clear like you're not going to be an option. And he's surprised that she didn't pitch really anything because she really didn't. She just said like put me up pretty much. And Jed says that they're not going to let him in on all of their plans moving forward. And Beth says that she thinks for sure that the target should be one of TNT this week, but maybe they should just put both of them up because that's maybe the best way to do it. Jed says in the event one of them come down, they have to backdoor Kiefer. That is always an option that they have. And even though he did just save them, he is a huge jury threat at this point, which is true. I mean, Roe in his interview literally said, like, I'm going to vote for Kiefer to win if he's at the end. So I think that's true that, like, Kiefer is definitely one of the bigger threats out of everyone left at the moment.
Yeah.
So at the nomination ceremony, Jed does decide to pull the trigger, finally puts up Tina and Tera. Amazing move. I'm glad he finally did it. I feel like this is something that should have happened a while ago. Tina is someone that I feel like is like in regular Big Brother, as in US Big Brother, Tina's like the definition of like the perfect pawn. She's someone that's never going to go, but she's never really going to do anything to not get herself on the block. And so I feel like Tina's someone that in a season where there wasn't this much great dynamic gameplay, she probably would have been up like every other week. So I'm glad that he finally pulled that trigger and just put both of them up.
Oh, same.
Yeah. I mean, so that's everything in Sundays. We're going to get into the events of Wednesday's episode, which you're going to talk about. Allie.
Oh, right. Sorry. Okay. Jed feels this move is going to help his resume either way.
Yeah.
Tina knew this was coming, but feels like she still has the Sunsetters until Final 5.
No, you don't. You left that.
I mean, I can kind of see it as if I was Tina and I really only signed myself with one group and one individual, I can see why she would think everyone knows this is who I'm working with. I'm not with anybody else. They shouldn't flip on me. But at the same time, I think us as viewers kind of see the writing on the wall that if she stays up there, she's not going to be guaranteed safety.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. I think just in general, like, I think Tina was holding out hope, but I don't think there was ever a scenario where like they actually had her like that long.
Although with Tina in this sort of resigned mood, and with Tera definitely the opposite of resigned to fate, I was definitely the veto pickings are going to be very interesting because depending on who's not playing, like any one of these people winning could change the narrative of the rest of this week. So this week more than others, I was like, what's going to happen with the veto?
Yeah, definitely.
Kiefer said this was the least nervous he's been since a nom ceremony and says that Tera has to go this week with how forward she's been about going after them, unless she wins the veto, of course.
Which is crazy that like he feels that good. It shows like how closely he's been working with him, but also his naivety that like he doesn't think he's going to go up here.
Exactly. He's just like, he's so naive.
Yeah.
And it's definitely, drinking part of the Kool-Aid with, Beth going around saying that, these three 100% are going to go. And then with the Jed and Ty being all bro with him ever since Latoya left, I'm sure he was able to delude himself quite easily just because none of them had said Kiefer prepare. But it still made my heart jump a little bit to hear him say that.
Yeah, I was like, really? At Final 6, at Final 7, you feel this good? Like, come on.
Literally.
Right.
Jed says he's annoyed by Breydon and how much he's following Beth around. Ty feels they have the numbers if they were to send Bray home. Jed says either way, Tina should not go home this week, and it's a win-win either way.
Which is interesting with the way the week ends up playing out.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you said it best, Kevin. Tina is the textbook pawn. So, especially between Tina and Tera, if those are the final nominees, the move would be to take out Tera. And between
absolutely, I think at that point, considering what had not happened yet, I think Tera was pretty much the target.
Right.
Yeah.
And fairly so.
Yeah, as she should be.
Kiefer says he's working with both sides at this point, but still feeling he isn't even slightly in danger this week.
Again, the naivety. We hate to see it.
Tera knows that with Jed in power, Beth also is. She feels she needs to show her how good she is for a game. She tells her that the odds of her getting to the end at this point are very low. She only trusts Tina and Kiefer the most, and that if Tina is there, she gets taken.
Yeah, this was a really interesting pitch from Tera because the thing is, like, yes, I get what she is saying here when it comes to Beth and how like they kind of need each other in the game, but I don't think Beth needs Tera in any way. I think she has other connections that are far more movable than Tera, and I don't think this was I don't think this was that great of a pitch from Tera at all. I like that she was campaigning. I don't know if it was to the right person.
Exactly. Meanwhile, Kiefer has only been loyal to the boys. She says at this point Beth is the only person she thinks will take her to the end. She says she's a stay-at-home mom, and if she'll be content if she only gets 20 grand. Beth says her biggest fear is
he's playing for second place. Wonderful. We love that.
We don't stand that.
Yeah.
Beth says her biggest fear is getting to the end and others saying she was carried because she knows that's not the case. Which is true, because I mean, Beth won an HOH, and she would definitely cut them if she needs to.
Yeah, I would not say Beth is, at this point, at least Beth has not been carried at all. I think she has definitely been playing her own game. Whether or not it actually works out for her, that remains to be seen. But I do not think in any way that she's been carried. Like, she's definitely, especially these last few rounds, like, she's been playing the game on her own.
Yeah.
I mean, considering the jury as well, I can see how those thoughts start to come in for her, because after that, Victoria is probably not cheering for Beth at this point. Rohan is probably not. So I wanted to be nice. You know, anything can happen, but at this point, I'm sure Beth is looking for any way in which the jury could speak negatively about her and try and counteract that. But with that being said, I agree that Tera probably didn't change anything with this one conversation either.
Yeah, I don't think anything changed here at all.
Yeah. Tera says even Vic's eviction, they probably won't give her credit for, but if she's with her at the end, she has a way better chance. Beth makes it clear she will not be, or nor has ever been, carried to the end of the game. She's here to win the money and not just to find a boyfriend. She feels that Jen or Ty are going to get most of the credit for her moves.
Which I don't know. I don't know if that's actually true at this point. I think there is a scenario in which she is able to, you know, against Jed or Ty, take credit for what happens. I think her only real issue right now is Breydon. I think that Breydon definitely takes credit for the Victoria move because he planted that seed into her head. So I think that is the one thing she has to worry about. But I don't think Jed and Ty, like, they've definitely done stuff, but I don't think her move specifically, like, they're going to get credit for. I don't know if that's the case.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. So during the veto, in addition to Tina and Tera, and basically Beth, Ty, and Kiefer are also picked to play. Breydon is the only one not picked to play. Therefore, he hosts the competition. And the competition is essentially this like triathlon of sorts with like all these TikToks that they had to watch. And it was kind of fun to watch. One of them, they had to like put on blindfolds and put the blocks in the correct order. They then had to like successfully bake a recipe for slop cookies, and Q comes in, and Tina and Tera are surprisingly steamrolling through this, which I kind of love seeing. Like, I feel like Tina has been so bad at Tina especially has been so bad at every comp throughout the season. Every comp she's been in like dead last. She's like, I'm too old here. I'm not really trying, but it was good to see for once them actually doing well in a competition. I like getting to see that.
I agree, because I mean, it is nice that they're actually trying.
Yeah, and so with all the blocks stacked correctly, Tera ends up winning the veto here, which I don't think anyone expected to happen. I think this was very surprising. I like that it happened because of what ends up happening afterwards.
I mean, good for her.
Yeah, I mean, good for Tera, I guess. I'm glad. I'm glad that, you know, it ended up happening because of the outcome itself, but it's interesting because I don't think this is the scenario that they thought of. I don't think they thought Tera was going to win this veto. So now they're kind of at a crossroads with what they really want to do. Right.
I mean, even with just Tera celebrating her win, all I could think about was show me the other people, show me their faces.
Yeah. Exactly.
There was blood in the water after that. There really was.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you can show Tera happy for like a second, but let's cut to the others and see the effect it has on them. That's what we really want to see.
That's what I was saying.
But again, production's obsessed with Tera, and I don't understand it.
Oh,
so
no, not that.
Yeah. So basically, after the comp, Breydon is really feeling like he's going to go up here. He's really worried that something is going to go wrong and that he's going to be in danger. And rightfully so. I think Breydon definitely should have been worried because the fact there was a strong possibility that, yeah, he could get sniped here if they really wanted him to. So Jed goes to Beth, talks about how he does plan to put Breydon up at first, but he also brings up the idea of Kiefer. And this is where things get interesting because Beth is shocked that he would actually be down to do this, considering how loyal Kiefer has been to them. And basically, Jed sees Breydon as the easy option, but Kiefer is the biggest target in the house right now, and this would be the time to shot. And I agree.
Yeah.
Like, this is absolutely when they should have taken out Kiefer. And I'll be honest, you know, considering the way the week played out, I don't think there's any other week you can take out Kiefer other than this one. This would have definitely been the week for them to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even just the notion of Kiefer going here, though, it was an icy, cold move to even speak of if Kiefer were to go here. So when they started talking about it, I thought, there's no way. There's no way they're going to do it. There's no way they're going to put him up.
Yeah, exactly. And for Jed, I think this was definitely a good move for sure because, you know, he came into this week saying, like, I want to show my resume. I want to show that, like, you know, I'm playing really hard. And I think this would have definitely been a great move for him. So, you know, so Jed goes to Beth and basically Jed and Ty, they're talking this over and Ty thinks this is an amazing idea because if they do this now, it'll actually be the best move for them since it'll really be hard to get him out later, which is true. This absolutely was the right time for them to do it.
Agreed. Like it was definitely the best chance to go like at Final 7.
Yeah.
I mean, after seeing Tina and Tera do so well in that veto, if they do take Kiefer out, I was wondering, like, what if Tina and Tera win next and you're down a number?
Yeah, it's true.
Like, speaking it over, even sitting here, I honestly don't know what would have been the better move, to put up Kiefer and send him home or to put up Breydon and just business as usual.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have been boring though. Like I don't want that.
Yeah, definitely 100% it would have been.
Yeah.
Kiefer tells Ty that TNT are getting into his head, and Ty says Bray feels way too comfortable here. Kiefer really is hoping his loyalty to the Sunsetters helps his chances here.
Which, again, I like that he finally is starting to have doubts, because I was like, come on,
you
have to know that, like, there's a situation where this doesn't work out well for you. So I like that he was starting to have doubts, whether that was his doing or Banana's doing, I don't know, but I was glad that he was starting to have doubts here.
Same. Ty says he thinks that Jed should wait to do it until they're down in numbers. Kiefer says he feels he's not looking him in the eye lately, and he makes it clear to him he has no intentions of wavering from them.
Yeah, and I'm glad that Kiefer did pitch to them that, you know, I've been very loyal to you. I'm going to continue to be loyal. But at the same time, it's Final 7. There's only so many more rounds where you can continue to be loyal. Eventually, you're going to be the majority of the house, and you're going to have to start to turn on each other. And I think Kiefer knows that, but I think this was definitely like a last-ditch effort to try to make it clear to them, like, I have you. I haven't, you know, I haven't betrayed you up to this point. I'm not going to try to do it now. So I think it was definitely a good move, but it was definitely a long shot.
True. Beth tells Jed this will be his winning move. Ty comes in and tells them that the sauce comes before everything else, and that the Sunsetters was only a guarantee until Final 6.
Which I think we knew. I think we knew definitely that, like, you know, once it came down to it, the trio was going to be like their main alliance.
I honestly don't think this is really Jed's move, though. It's more Beth's.
Yeah, I think so too.
Kiefer is really starting to worry that the Bray plan is not legit. He goes to the HOH where Beth is and asks her if that's still the plan. And she says that Jed and Ty wanted to talk to him. He gets the sense that this means he's going to go home next.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always fascinating to see how people can avoid blatantly lying by misdirecting. And I can just imagine myself being Kiefer in this situation where one would feel so secure, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I was feeling bad on behalf of him, despite everything, because I was just like, oh my gosh, you poor thing, you know. That's how it felt.
Yeah, very much.
Kiefer talks to them and says that he wouldn't have done this to them, and Jed says he's going to win the game, and though his story is inspiring, they have to make this move.
Which is true. He definitely was like the favorite to win the game at that point from the jury.
Yeah. I mean, his game wasn't the best, but he has won lots of comps and made moves.
Yeah.
And I think
he's working with a lot of people, so.
Right. From the beginning, I think Kiefer has always been looked at a little bit differently from the other contestants. And I feel like Kiefer himself has said, I'm an outcast. So for the outcast to not only make it up to this point, but also win competitions, have alliances, he's pretty close to a whole package. And I think the other contestants can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the veto ceremony, Jed decides to make the move and backdoors Kiefer.
Which I think at that point we knew was very much going to happen, and I'm glad that he did end up taking the shot. Now, was it successful? Well, let's get into Thursday and what really ended up happening, because we see that Kiefer feels this was a really good move because he was the biggest threat left, and he got caught playing the middle of the house. Now, Tina, on the other hand, feels this is going to be very emotional either way, considering that these are the first two people that walked into the house. Remember, Tina and Kiefer were two people that the audience voted in as like the team captains of the season. So they've always had that bond, and it's kind of crazy that like they're now the two people on the block this week. And Jed is very emotional about this. Kiefer tells him that there's really no hard feelings on his end and that he had to make this move eventually. And Kiefer admits that he probably was going to win here. And Jed being emotional, I talked about early on in the season how Jed's emotions was going to be his downfall in the game. And I'm glad to see that's not the case. But at the same time, I don't really know why he's so emotional about this. I think this is something where I get he had a close relationship with Kiefer, but if I made this move, I would be feeling very proud. Would I be upset? Yes, but I wouldn't be crying about making this move because it's my move. I had to make this move eventually. And I feel like Kiefer's someone that really respects game. I don't really think he needed to be as upset as he was.
Same, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, for Jedson, I think this was the first time his decision was like, I feel like up until this point, everything that Jedson has done, most of the people knew it, predicted it, didn't catch anyone by surprise. And maybe this has shaken something in Jed at the fact that, now you're playing Big Brother,
Right.
I don't think he's not used to it. I don't think he is.
Yeah, I think so too. He's definitely played and that's why like Tera saying he's going to win the game, I don't really agree with, because this is really the first time his move has been his move. He's done something that he wanted to do and he went through with it, and it hasn't been an easy decision for him. So that's why I'm not entirely sure that when people say, oh, Jed's going to win this game, I don't really buy that as much as I do Ty and Beth, who I feel have more of a shot. But we get this really good scene with Ty and Breydon talking about like the struggles of Black experience and things like that. I really liked this a lot. It really speaks to the diversity of the cast that we're able to get these kinds of conversations. I think it was really good that we ended up getting that here and talking about how like, it's going to be very positive for a lot of POCs within the house. I really like getting to see this conversation a lot. It kind of reminded me of like Kaser and Big Brother 22 talking about serious struggles that he's gone through. I just really like getting to see those conversations. I feel like these are things that they don't show often on the show, and I'm glad that they did show that here.
Yeah, I just think it was really important, and I'm glad they showed that.
Yeah, definitely. So Breydon Kiefer says that he's been this really great fatherly figure, and Kiefer feels this is a sign that he's going home. The way that Breydon's talking, it feels like he's going. He wants Bray to go far in the game if he can't, and he does something that I thought was probably the worst thing he could have done. He tells him about the Sunsetters Alliance, and I don't think this was a good move at all for him, because the thing is, I get it if he thought for sure there's no chance I'm going here. But what Kiefer does after this conversation, it's very confusing to me why he would completely out his entire alliance when he's been preaching loyalty to them constantly. I don't understand why he just flat out told Breydon, like, yeah, this is my alliance. I don't think that was a smart move.
No, I don't think so either.
I mean, I think Kiefer was overwhelmed and was thinking more emotionally than strategically. So
Yeah.
I can see the logic. I can see why he did it, but I agree that if he planned on staying and planning on fighting for it, then that just makes you look more shady if you survive, and then this group actually turns around and says this is actually the finals. So,
right. Yeah, like if there was any doubt in his mind that he wasn't going to stay, he probably should have just waited to tell him until, like, say Breydon's out of the house. Then he could have, told him about that.
Right. I agree.
Kiefer tells Jed while he saw this coming, this was a shock to them, and Jed says he feels that though he did a lot of them, they did a lot for him too. Mm-hmm. He feels he's getting robbed and getting backdoored by his alliance he's worked closely with the whole game. He said if he were to stay, he would be loyal to the Four once again, and feels for Jed this would be the best shot to get to the final two. He said he needs 3 votes to stay and he'd break the tie.
And I thought this was brilliant work by Kiefer. I have not been a big Kiefer fan, as I've said, as of late, but I think he put in some really good work here because this is true. There is definitely a scenario where the only way Kiefer gets to the end is against Jed. I don't think Ty takes him. I don't think Beth takes him. I could definitely see Jed taking him. And I think definitely there is a scenario where, Jed wins over Kiefer. I do think that's possible. And I do think this was a good pitch on his end. I think he definitely did some good work here.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I was honestly a little surprised because, especially in comparison to Tera, who had a lot of emotion throughout this episode too, and then her pitch didn't quite work, to see Kiefer have his emotional moment, but this is working, I was surprised to see the spark in Kiefer.
It speaks to how good of a player he actually is. I think definitely as the weeks have gone on, he's gotten better and better. And I think this is probably the best we've seen of him so far with what he's able to pull off here.
Absolutely.
Kiefer asks Ty what he should do, and Ty says he doesn't know how hard this is because if he was expendable, he'd be out a while ago. And Ty says he's in a position where no one is going to put him up. And if he's in the final 3, he's taking Jed.
Yeah, exactly.
And it makes sense. What Ty's saying makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, he pretty much, what would happen there is if Ty is in that final 3, he's definitely taking Jed because they've been the most loyal to each other. They have similar cases at that point. I don't think Ty thinks he can win against Kiefer because he really can't. So I'm glad that Ty was straight up with him here. I think that was very smart of him to do.
Kiefer says that Beth is a bigger threat, and she's taking Bray instead of him. And Ty says there's no way Jed would cut Beth, and Kiefer says he still holds out hope they can be the greatest alliance of all time. Which I don't think it's the greatest alliance, but
no,
of all time, no.
Of all time, no.
Not of all time. Definitely one of the best, though.
Yeah, it's definitely a good alliance, but it's not the best one.
Yeah. But then again, we say that every season.
Right, yeah. We don't know Big Brother like we know Big Brother, so.
Yeah, definitely not.
Ty says he can see an argument for keeping him and Jed. And Jed says he does think that keeping Kiefer would make sense since Tina basically sniped him. And Jed says he doesn't want to make a move if it isn't best for them. Ty feels breaking up a duo is still a big move. Tina has never done anything for them, and she never will.
Which is true. I think my thing with this conversation with Jed is if you were going to take this shot, why didn't you take the shot? It felt like he wanted to do it, and then suddenly he didn't. He was like, oh, this is not a good move for me. And he's right. I don't know if this is the best move for him to get rid of Kiefer and keep Tina and Tera in the house when Tina and Tera, are actively against Jed. I definitely understand that. But at the same time, why didn't you just put Breydon up though and make Tina the target? I think there was a way he could have done that, and he did not do it.
Right. I mean, even just the act of putting up Kiefer there and the implication of sending him home is icy. That is something that cannot be undone. It's not uncrossed. And so to back away from it, I think it just sort of speaks to Jed's emotional decision making rather than, you know, going with strategy all the time. But this felt like, I know it was all nice and buddy-buddy, but it felt like it was spiraling out of control from the original plan, just because sending Kiefer home would be huge, no matter good or bad. The one consistent would be huge.
Yeah, it was like they had that lightning in the bottle. They had all the stops, and then, oh, false alarm. We're not actually going to do it.
It felt strange.
Yeah, it was. I felt cheated as a viewer, okay? I felt cheated.
Jed and Ty talk to Kiefer and says that he really never wanted him to go home, and Kiefer is relieved he isn't leaving this week and that his campaign actually seemed to work. I mean, I guess it's good for them, but like it makes Jed's HOH a waste.
Yeah, and I was like, at this point, just cut to the fucking eviction. Like, we know what's going to happen. Just cut to the eviction. Like, it's fine. However, we do get a really good, like, segment after this that I'm interested in talking about for sure.
I think it's yours, right?
No, it's yours.
Oh, okay.
I can read it, though.
Jed tells Beth about the new plan, and she's frustrated because she has no resume at this point and hates that they feel better with Kiefer than her. She said she would have never done this to him. He talks to Ty about it and says she's pissed they made the move on their own without her. Beth feels like they took their vote away from her. Ty says they still have room to make any decision they want and that Kiefer still knows she's part of the move because it wouldn't happen without her. And she says this is exactly why she didn't want to keep Kiefer.
Yeah, I mean, this is something where, you know, we knew that eventually she was going to have doubts. We knew that eventually she probably was going to turn on the two of them because they're, you know, games didn't really align. Like, you look at last week when she was HOH and Jed and Ty talked about how they felt good with Vic and she didn't. They felt good. They didn't feel good with Ro. She did. So you knew eventually something was going to happen, but I did not think it was going to happen like this soon, where you can already see there's a clear divide with Beth and the boys. And I can definitely see a scenario where she's going to cut them like relatively soon.
Yeah.
Or the other way around.
Yeah, definitely. The cracks are very much starting to show, which I love. I love that even though this alliance is steamrolling, there's already cracks that are showing. It's good to see, and it's going to be really interesting to see how that ends up playing out overall. So I'm very interested in how that whole scenario is going to go, because at this point it seems like Beth has been able to get Jed to do everything that she's wanted, and this was the first week where she's like, I didn't really want this to happen. I didn't really want Kiefer to not go here. I'm the one who got you to do it, and now you're not doing it. And because it's not really going her way, she's not happy about that. And again, we'll see what ends up happening in this next week. But I am fearful if this trio is going to live to see another day, because it's not looking great. It's really not looking great. But so after all this campaigning, the work pays off and Tina's evicted, and it's a 3-1 vote. Obviously, the only person that kept her was Tera. And look,
at least it wasn't unanimous.
Yeah, I'm glad it wasn't unanimous, because it would have been really dumb if it was. If Tera actually voted Tina out, that would have been a really dumb move on her part. She's already done a lot of dumb moves, but this would have been like the top of the list for sure. I saw a lot of people talking about how, this was a really bad move. They should have definitely like gotten rid of Kiefer. And I do agree. I think definitely Beth should have voted Kiefer out. I think she should have stuck to her guns and just voted for him. Obviously, it would have tied at that point, but Jed would have broken the tie, and then he would have sent. He probably would have sent Tina out the door.
Probably.
But in terms of Jed and Ty, I think this was overall a good move for them, especially with Beth wavering. I think it was a good move. I just think Jed should not have put him up to begin with, because again, if you're going to take that shot, you don't miss. And he missed, and I think he's going to suffer for it.
I agree.
100%. I mean, even just like I've said it a few times, but putting take two, putting Kiefer up to the cold.
If only we edited these.
oh gosh, imagine. But like putting Kiefer up was an icy cold move. So now even though Kiefer saying I'm still with you, and even though Breydon is he wasn't on the block at all, Tina now feels shafted at the fact that her group has turned on her. Kiefer now knows he was this close to being sent out the door, and Breydon already said before that he felt like it could be him. So none of these people feel 100% good on you because he switched midway. So I think it's only a matter of time before this comes up again.
Yeah, I think for sure this is not going to go great for Jed. I think definitely next week, especially with the way this plays out. I don't think it's going to go great for him because we do get to see the HOH comp play out here. They're given a series of information from all the previous house guests where they finally find out Latoya was a police officer. Yep. In the most unceremonious way possible. They just find this out. I thought it was really interesting the way they just kind of threw that in there. I'm like, this is probably like I've seen a lot of times where the Big Brother house guests have to quickly reveal information to people that they didn't want to, but this has to be the most unceremonious way I've ever seen it happen. I mean, she's not even in the house at that point. They're like baffled by this happening. I thought it was really funny the way they just kind of like dropped that on them.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah, because it is definitely it's something that we forgot. When LT went in the house, that it's like, yeah, she's a cop. She wants to try to cover that up as much as she can, and she ended up doing it. Literally when she's out of the house. I think that's pretty funny overall. But
it is pretty.
So basically, they are told that if they get all the quotes correctly, they will win the HOH. And with the majority of the questions right, Tera is the new HOH. And
oh my gosh,
this is not, I think, what we were expecting.
I mean, we like a power shift, but
oh yeah, definitely. I love the pendulum swinging from one side to another. But if my names are Beth, Jed, and Ty, I would be terrified with how this week is going to go.
Was that intentional?
What?
Terrified. Oh, I see what you did there. I really do. Oh my goodness. What a time. What a time for the minority to come into power as well. Right after Vic, Ro, and Tina and the back and forth. I'm excited to see the trio if they're gonna go throw each other under the bus. I'm excited to see if they're gonna stay solid and say all of us ignore Tera. I have no idea how this is going to go. I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah, I think so too. I think this is a really unprecedented. I think this was something where like people thought last week this was going to happen, but it happened this week, and I don't know what's going to end up happening now with her doing this, especially with the announcement that happens where we find out next week is a double eviction, but it's a fake one. It's not an actual double eviction because the two people that go out, they're going to compete in a battle back of sorts, and one of them's going to get to fight their way back in. Do we like this twist? What do you guys think about this?
I feel like it's too late. I feel like it should have happened with Victoria and Rohan. That would have been way better.
No, this is kind of similar to this is kind of like a watered down version of the Secret Suite, which back on the Brothers season with Lovita and Kelsey, they both got eliminated, but they got to move into a suite, and the house voted one of them back in. But even then, I think it was pre-jury, and there was still a lot of
which
time.
Is like that's the time to do it. I would say is like almost like late pre-jury into jury. I feel like that's the time to do a battle back.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
This right now, it's my mind's racing about what could potentially happen, but I want to see one of the trio go. I'm ready to let one of them go at this point. So
I know.
I like them all, but
me too.
Yeah, I think this was definitely a really weird thing to do now. I agree with Ali that if this was the first week, the first double eviction with Vic and Ro, then this could have been really interesting. But I feel like this is not going to be as interesting because we're going to have this buildup of these two people are leaving, everything is set to happen, and then one of them is going to come back in. It's really just kind of like resetting the week back. I will say I like that they actually get to leave the house and that the house guests actually think that this is a real eviction and then someone comes in and they're played. I like that. I just don't know if I like it being at final 6. I think it's way too late to do that. And I feel like the only reason they're doing that is just so we have an extra week this season, which we don't really need at this point. You know, I feel like we're close to the end game. Just let us see the end game play out. We don't need that extra week. I didn't like it in Big Brother 16. And though this isn't as bad as that week where I legit did not cover that week at all because it was completely inconsequential, it's not as bad as that week. I still don't really like this because I feel like it kind of loses some of the tension that's going to be going on. Because again, like maybe who doesn't leave this week comes back in, but who leaves the other eviction is going to come back in.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't even know what's going to happen. I don't know who's going to be actually evicted yet. Whatever happens, I hope. I don't know.
I guess we'll see. We'll have to see what ends up happening. But just like the previous double eviction, we are going to be doing 2 separate episodes, one for Sunday and Wednesday, and then one for Thursday, because I feel like this one, especially, there's going to be a lot to cover. Not only are we going to have 2 evictions, but we're going to have a comp as well. And I feel like that's going to be really interesting to cover. So we are going to have 2 separate episodes for that. But other than that, that's really everything that went down on Big Brother Canada this week. Before we do wrap things up, I do want to give Jodely or Lemon a chance to plug their socials and all that kind of stuff. So go right ahead.
Oh, for sure. Feel free to follow me at Let's Have a Lemon. I love watching Big Brother Canada. I love a good game, and I am certainly still rooting for Julie Boo to come back. Yes, it's very true. We never know what could happen. But yeah, apart from that, thank you guys for having me. This was so much fun. And I still feel like this is going to be such a great season. I really have no clue who's going to take it. I don't even know who's going to come next week. So
yeah, that's the thing. Sure. Like, even though this week honestly, it's kind of unfortunate with the fake double eviction, I mean, it still remains to be seen who actually is going to win this thing.
The season's actually still really good. And like, honestly, at this point, anyone can win.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and even though we have like the fan favorite out, the week is the season is still really interesting because of all the good gameplay that's going on and things like that. So I still think this is a really good season. I saw people having doubts that like this was going to turn out like Big Brother 20, where like the pre-jury is really interesting and then the jury phase it gets really predictable. But I don't think it's been that way at all, especially with the week this week and now this twist. I think there are ways to keep it interesting. So very, very, very happy about that for sure. And you are correct. I mean, Julie Boo's voted every single week, so maybe there's a possibility she comes back in. You never know.
Who knows? Maybe.
I'm not letting the hope train say die. I'm just
bring Julie Boo back. That's all we need.
Absolutely.
Yes. But other than that, guys, for our review of this week of Big Brother Canada, of course, as always, comment down below. Let us know what you guys thought of this week. How do you think this fake double eviction is going to play out? All that stuff. We will see you guys in our next video, and we will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.